welcome back to another episode of Become an Advocate. Today we're going to mix a little bit of fun food science with one of agriculture's most important sectors, the dairy industry. Now, what a lot of people don't realize is just how important this industry is to the state of Indiana. In Indiana alone, there are over 2,000 dairy farms which produce more than 3 trillion pounds of milk every single year. And this accounts for more than $700 million to the Indiana economy and doesn't even cover the amount of jobs and tax revenue all this milk brings in. Now, some of you might have seen the dairy industry lately in the media painted in a not so positive light, and I am here today to talk about it. So I think first and foremost, it's important that all of us understand that as individuals, we can really make a difference when it comes to changing our lifestyle habits to try to mitigate climate change and global warming. However, I also think the dairy industry has been falsely demonized for their contribution to greenhouse gas emissions. In 2017, the EPA estimated that dairy industries contributed about 1.3% of the total greenhouse gases that we produce in the United States. Compared to other industries like transportation and electricity, this is actually a pretty small number. The transportation and electricity industries produce more than 20% of the United States greenhouse gas emissions each. As a scientist myself, I love research and I love innovation and applying discoveries to daily life in a way that changes it for the better. And I'm not saying there might not be a day where all industries, dairy included, might be able to find production methods that produce less greenhouse gases. But in terms of dairies today, dairy farmers are some of agriculture's lifebloods, and they're able to produce a product that's highly nutritious, full of calcium and protein at a price that a lot of people can afford. And when we think about the fact that 10% of all Americans are hungry, it's so critical that we're able to have these more affordable protein sources compared to other meat products available so that people, regardless of their background, can have the nutrients they need to live healthy lives. So as someone who is a strong proponent of the dairy industry, today I'm going to show you how you can 1, support the dairy industry, and 2, learn a little bit about food science by making butter out of heavy whipping cream. The 3 things we'll need today are a glass jar, heavy whipping cream, the higher the fat percentage, the better, and finally, lots of arm muscles. We're going to be doing a lot of jar shaking today. So even though our activity today revolves around using heavy whipping cream, the story really starts with milk. And so whenever a dairy farmer lets milk sit for a while, maybe a week or so, fat from the milk itself will actually float to the top and create a new layer. And this fatty new layer is called cream. But even more interesting things will start to happen with these fat particles when we shake the cream. And that's exactly what we're going to do today. So the first thing we're going to do today is we're going to take our glass jar, can be whatever size you want, mine's about 10 ounces, and we're going to pour our heavy whipping cream into it. Notice, I'm actually using a glass jar that I recycled. I'm a huge proponent of recycling glass, and that's exactly how I'm trying to do my part to mitigate climate change. Now that we have our jar full of our heavy whipping cream, we're going to screw on our lid, and this is truly where the fun begins, and also where the workout begins. We're going to just start shaking this jar up and down as vigorously as we can, and in about 2 minutes, I'll check back in with you all, and we'll talk about the changes we see. So now that our 2 minutes is up, it's time to check in on our heavy whipping cream. And what you all may be able to notice is our heavy whipping cream is not so heavy anymore. And it's much lighter, much fluffier, and what we've now created is whipped cream. And so what has been happening the past couple minutes is that as we've been shaking our jar, air has been deposited into the heavy whipping cream, and that's what's made it so light, so fluffy, and what has turned it into this whipped cream. Now, if we want to get this substance into butter, we're going to have to work a little bit harder. So we're going to continue to shake the jar for about 10-ish minutes, and then we'll check back in with each other. So I hope your 10 minutes of shaking went just as well as mine did. I'm so excited because at about the 7-minute mark, I noticed this clumpiness. It sounded like there was a solid rattling around in my jar. And what you see right here is butter. And on the outside, there's also a little bit of liquid. You might not be able to see it in my jar, but if you're doing this at home, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. And so what this liquid is basically anything that's not fat clumping together and forming butter that we had left in our whipped cream from our heavy whipping cream. And so before we use our butter, we want to strain out this liquid, and then we're going to rinse our butter twice with cold water. Rinsing the butter 2 times with cold water is important to extend its shelf life. Otherwise, it'll go rancid pretty quickly. So now that you're done rinsing your butter off with cold water, you can finally sit back and enjoy all of your hard work. I'm going to test mine out on a piece of toast. This butter did not disappoint. So good. I hope you all enjoyed learning a little bit about the dairy industry today, as well as how you can take heavy whipping cream and turn it into butter with a little bit of food science. Please subscribe to my channel below so you don't miss out on any of the exciting content I'll be releasing. And I look forward to seeing you guys next time.